Let's talk about terminology. The way we describe things can add extra information to the description. Let me introduce you to a term today. Sega Blue Skies. The opening stage of Outrun has this magnificent and large blue sky on screen at all times. Combined with the sand, green in the distance, palm trees, and legally questionable Testarossa, these give a strong, vibrant feel of a fun time on the beach, a fun time in the sun with the heat, but enough breeze to cancel it out. But does it have to be a beach? Let's look at the opening stage of Sega Rally Championship.
3, 2, 1, go!
Again, a large blue sky with intermittent clouds above you, but now you're surrounded by the dark green trees and dark brown dirt. Still, it's hard to call this anything but vibrant. From your car to the green, red, white, and yellow HUD, this is not drab. It's hard not to even call the dirt saturated. Same could be said for basically this whole game. But does it have to be in nature?
Gentlemen, start your engine.
The easy stage of Daytona USA, the titular Daytona, which looks way cooler in this than reality, again has a large blue sky above you. The clouds are a bit heavier this time, but it is still striking. It's hard not to notice, especially as the skybox seems to wobble with you, giving the whole game world a somewhat chaotic feel. But does it have to involve cars?
Ready? Go!
No. Sega Ski Super G, yet again, features a huge blue sky wobbling with you. Looks like a modified photograph. Like the others, we also have a very colorful HUD and some other things I should mention that you may have noticed before. We have really detailed textures for the mid-90s, stretched over large objects and maxed out excitement from the music. Each one of these games feels like a party with the fun shrunken down to a max 10-minute time limit. It's the arcade after all. Don't forget about Top Skater, Wave Runner, Indy 500, and Sega Touring Car. Other than the older Outrun, all of these games have the shared aspect of being made on the Sega Model 2 hardware. Debuting in 1993, the Model 2 was absurdly ahead of what most people had at home. Imagine being a kid and buying a brand new copy of Mega Man 6, then seeing the brand new Daytona USA in the arcades. Now, I do like Mega Man 6, and this isn't the fairest comparison, but this was a reality. Not everyone had a PlayStation at launch, and even then the Model 2 was still ahead. To me, there's just something striking about the combination of colors, low poly but high texture quality objects, the lightning fast loud music, and of course, the almost always present blue skies. For me, being a bit younger, the number one location I think of is Sonic Adventure's Emerald Coast. I mean, look at all this. Using pictures from the most beautiful part of Mexico, Sega crafted one of the most memorable blue skies I can think of. Much like Outrun, it's a nice beach again. The pace is, ironic for Sonic, a bit slower than most Model 2 games. It sits with you. It sat with me. It's why I'm making this video. I'm being 100% serious when, over the years, I would occasionally think of Emerald Coast and just wish there were more games that had stages like it. Sonic 06 had something similar, but the color palette, the bugs, and the more realistic style kind of killed it. I don't hate Wave Ocean, but Sonic 06 just doesn't quite feel like a game with Sega blue skies, even though it's a Sega game with blue skies. My number 2 personal example is Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi is my favorite arcade game. It's not a Model 2 game, but you can see the low poly, high brightness style all the same. It's on the limit though. A Sega blue sky, if you hadn't noticed, tends to be somewhat unnaturally blue. Look outside right now, if it's day and you're somewhere sunny, and compare the blue with, say, Virtual Racer. There's a clear difference. Like Walter White's meth, it's better because it's blue. But my point with bringing up Crazy Taxi is that a game with Sega blue skies is not just a definition based off of the sky alone. There's excitement, a prioritization of fun above all else. It's a sunny, clear day atmosphere, time for activities, events, parties, racing, and so on. it's also not necessarily natural. It's an exaggeration of a feeling. The sky is bluer than blue. It's a standout part of the visual design. A Sega blue sky is an important part of the composition, and the surrounding geometry and colors accentuate the vibe it introduces. The surroundings tend to be simple, and a visual design not too cluttered. In short, it's cool. I thought obsessing over some blue skyboxes was a crazy thing only I did, but what made this video happen was finding other people that were into this. The trigger was this Thor High Heels video where at 3340 he says, Sega Sunny Blue Skies. I said before Sonic 06 didn't quite cut the mustard, but I admit it's still an example. There's just better ones is all. I did some searching after that and found this article on Medium by Saskia Joshi, where they experienced something very similar to me. They were influenced to write the article about their memories with the Sega Blue Skies and Sonic the Hedgehog after reading about the term in Edge magazine. Clearly, I'm not the only one. Then, I found this Reddit post by Red Zaku called Everybody Gangsta Until Sega Brings Out Those Bright Blue Skies. They posted a bunch of CRT pictures of many of the games I mentioned before. Clearly, this has to be on some minds. Red Zaku made this post as I was working on the first draft of this script. Every example, every video, every picture I've talked about is from the past. The newest one was Sonic 06, and knock knock, it's the Reaper. That was 16 years ago. If there's a clear appreciation for this aesthetic, why is no one trying to bring it back? Well, for one, the term isn't very popular, and that's the main reason I made this video. I want to put the meme, parenthesis legit term, in your mind and spread the word. For a second, I'm actually lying. There's at least one person out there trying to bring those Sega Blue Skies back over the horizon. This post was like a religious revelation to me, and it only has 4 upvotes. VF Xander on the Unreal Engine subreddit showed off a game they're working on called Overjump, and he says, Sega's classic Blue Skies are going to be present, of course. Overjump is a fan remake and tribute to Sega Rally. There's a demo you can play right now that, of course, I'm linking. You know me, read the description, it's where I put all the toys. The game's in alpha now, and I'd like to provide a little feedback on the graphics. Thankfully, the dev themselves put out a trailer where they actively compare it to the original graphics of Sega Rally Championship. For a one-man Unreal Engine 5 show, this game looks great. I would not for one moment call this bad or lacking in effort. However, I feel like it doesn't quite grasp the same Sega Blue Skies aesthetic of the original. There's also some color shifts to an even more drab color palette that I don't really understand. Let's pause it about here, so look carefully at the background. Now the sky color is actually close, but consider the rest of the colors here. The dark blue distant mountains are now clearly visible and brown with a light blue overlay. The green grass is no longer a large, wrapping texture gripping the sides of the asphalt, but now patchy and more realistic. The rocks too are visually more busy, if you catch my drift. There's a cartoonish nature to Sega Rally. I believe this was caused by hardware limitations. As we look at Sega's card game output in the mid-2000s, we can see that cartoonishness fade away. But just because an aesthetic was crafted with a more limited polygon count doesn't make it bad. I would personally say that Sega Rally Championship looks a lot more fun and vibrant than Sega Rally 2006, despite the more available hardware afforded to the latter. This is all so subjective. I just personally believe that an effort towards realism in this very arcadey, very exciting, very fun first kind of game is sort of counterproductive. It's my personal opinion that, in its current form, the visual design of Overjump just doesn't quite match the same vibe that all us addicts are looking for. I'm not going to ask the dev to replace the backgrounds of this build with cropped pictures like Sega Rally 2. Now, I would personally like that because I think the full video and audio design package of those arcade games was 10 out of 10, but most people would think that looks cheap now. To move to the kind of visuals Sega Rally had, if modern but with the same vibe, would require severe changes to what's there, and I think that's a lot to ask of a one-person fan project. Instead, my recommendations are to play with the colors and maybe simplify some of the geometry, take away the color dimming, and play with the lighting. Sega Rally had very sharp shadows, turning a light effect into a hard black that added to the overall contrast of the scene. Now don't take any of this criticism personally. I'm excited for this project, and that's just how I would do it. I mean, look at how nice this grass looks. I'm a junkie for a particular style, and that may have made me loopy. People in the comments seem pretty positive after all. It is extremely hard to update a more fantastical looking game into a more realistic setting. But while I have my disagreements, I don't think Overjump looks like your dime a dozen Nintendo hire this man Reddit bait remake. So for those of you watching, think about those Sega Blue Skies. What other examples can you come up with? Who else is bringing this style back? And if you'd rather just have some fun, give the Sage demo of Overjump a try. It's very alpha, but give it a lap. That's that for now. Thanks for watching this fun little video. It meant a lot to me to talk about this. See you later. Goodbye.